Do you have any idea why I've been requested a few times to review this movie? And you know what it feels like? You had to review it, that you're friends with some people who loved it and you hate it so bad. Look, I never met a friend in person that really loves this movie. Honestly, I mean, when I was in high school, a few teachers that I had said like they remember watching this movie and they said it was horrible. It was so bad, and they just couldn't understand why this movie was ruined. They knew that it was ruined, and they don't know why. I mean, think about it. I never got to see this movie, thankfully, that year because, I mean, first off, I was born that year, but this movie came out, like, way before I was born. Thank God I never saw that in theaters. I mean, God, I don't know how to describe it, but hey, welcome back to Godzillathon, and let's be very honest, I never want to review this movie for obvious reasons, because I hate it so bad. It is one of those movies I want to skip. It's so awful. It is basically my least favorite of the franchise. And I just can't deal with it. I just can't. I can't deal that it actually exists to the public. It's really awful. It's so terrible. I just can't stand it. It sucks in general too. But also, I don't want to review it because we shouldn't, because this is not a Godzilla movie. Every trademark of Godzilla is nowhere near this film. But just because of the name, who the hell knows? I have to. Before I would say it, Zilla 2006 listen. I have a message for Zilla 2006 listen to me. If you're really watching this, I'm going to try to be very honest. I'm definitely going to be honest. This is basically my personal opinion. If you are offended, please don't. Please don't feel offended. Don't get your feelings hurt, please. Please. This is basically my review. I'm reviewing this as a Godzilla movie. So, with that being said, we are now on episode 23, and this is the movie considered to be the most hated films by Godzilla fans, and that is Godzilla 1998, aka Zilla, which obviously this movie is just going to be called Zilla. If you're looking at the title on this video, you notice that I crossed God along with this art here, crossing out God, because that's definitely not Godzilla. This is basically Zilla. It's called Zilla. This movie is Zilla's movie, and most fans fans are going to refer to this as Gino, Gino, standing for Godzilla in name only, whatever. Makes so much sense, just the name. So, I'm going to say this, that every fans, I'm just like those I'm just going to be like those fanboys. I hate it so bad. It is basically my least favorite of the franchise. You can understand why, because this movie totally rapes the characters and stuff like that. But comparing this movie to Godzilla's Revenge, aka All Monsters Attack, I think this movie is this movie is obviously more entertaining and more like action-packed and stuff like that. Even though it's not the best action scenes, it is a little bit more entertaining than All Monsters Attack, obviously. But that is not saying much. How much this movie ruins the source material. And think about it: Godzilla vs. Destroya, which I never mentioned this. It was the last Godzilla movie to be made and the best ending compared to Destroy All Monsters, Godzilla Final Wars, obviously, and Terror of Mechagodzilla, my favorite Godzilla movie. But looking at this movie, Godzilla vs. Destroya was intended to be the last movie, and TriStar just wanted to do their American Godzilla. But with that being said, I kind of want to go over the backstory before I get to this review, and this review is going to be very long, to be very honest, because of the backstory. I already mentioned the whole Steve Miner thing, that he wanted to do his American Godzilla movie, and Toho actually accepted it. But the thing is that it was never made. I mean, I don't know why, but the design he made, it looks like crap. I'm sorry to say this, but it looks like crap. So, in 1992, during the production of Godzilla vs. Mothra in 1992, TriStar required the rights from Toho to make the first American Godzilla. Well, originally it was Sony. Sony Pictures wanted to do an American Godzilla movie and sell it to that. Columbia Pictures actually denied it, but then they sell it to TriStar that they really want to do it and paid tribute to the original Godzilla, like close in tribute to the original. And you want to hear the shocking moment? Ishiro Honda, the original director, before he died, he said this is going to be an exciting moment, and he would love to see it even if he dies. I'm sure he looked up. Well, I'm willing to bet in my head that he's in heaven and he's looking at it, and he was really disappointing. He was really disappointed with this movie. Actually, I can actually tell. Boy, was he wrong. So that's the thing. I mean, that's what TriStar wanted to do. There was a bunch of scripts I heard that TriStar wanted to use, and one of them, I believe, this is probably the most popular one, the 1994 script. During the production of Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, before that, Jurassic Park came out, and that was popular because Jurassic Park was a great movie, great Steven Spielberg movie. I mean, that's awesome. And then there's 1994 script for Godzilla, and I don't know who made that script. It's a script where Godzilla was mutated with dinosaur genes, and when the bomb goes off, he becomes Godzilla later on, and then he fights a monster called the Griffin. Probably similar to one of the monsters from the Gamera series is what I realized. The script was scratched because of its budget was like $120 million, even though the movie itself was $130 million. Yeah, I don't know why TriStar could have used that script. That would have been awesome. But there's a reason. There is a true reason why it was scratched. I realized this because I read this off of Toho Kingdom. Toho, the original company, announced to say they cannot let TriStar make an original monster. That would be a bad decision for them. So they gave them rights to King Ghidorah also. And TriStar was like, yeah, well, we would definitely do that one. That would have been perfect. But the Griffin itself, I would have loved to see the Griffin actually getting a movie already. Just like Deathlock, created by the guy who made Godzilla vs. Hedorah. I want to see this Deathlock and the Griffin like be in the canon of Godzilla, in the Godzilla franchise. Like Bagan, that should have been already, but appeared in Super Godzilla. That would have been awesome. Yeah, those are the three scratched kaijus that we still want to see in the canon in the Godzilla movie, like already. So in 1996, TriStar chooses the guys behind the blockbuster that hit Independence Day, Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin. So, I mean, honestly, look, I'm gonna be honest. I do like Independence Day. It was a pretty good movie. Okay, it was pretty much entertaining and stuff like that. But yeah, that's basically why TriStar chose Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin to do Godzilla. But look, after Independence Day, Roland Emmerich makes so many bad movies, such as like a lot of bad movies. That's the same exact story over and over again. Like this movie, The Day After Tomorrow, 2012. White House Down, and I believe the sequel Independence Day Resurgence. Those are really bad movies. 20,000 BC came out before Independence Day, and that one is also bad. I believe Stargate was also part of it, which is also very bad. Those movies that he directed are so bad, and the only one he did that's so good is Independence Day. he has the same issue with Michael Bay, that both directors don't make good movies and all they care about is make explosions, but they only made one good movie, and basically Michael Bay's best movie was Armageddon. There is no doubt that movie was so good. I mean, that's obvious. And TriStar are just complete dumbasses that they clearly don't understand the whole point. Roland Emmerich hates the original Godzilla film. He obviously said it doesn't make any sense and said it looks like shit. I swear to God, they picked a bad director and they're clueless. They should have picked Steven Spielberg for this movie. Oh, let me push back. Let me step back already. Going back to that script that we mentioned before that I said, the design of Godzilla. Holy crap, Stan Winston. That design you made, that would have been the design that would appear in this movie. That would have been so great. The design, the head, the spines, the way he stands. It looks like tradition Heisei Godzilla. That would have been so perfect instead of the one we got. TriStar, what were you thinking? You could have used Stan Winston's design for this. But guess what? These guys rushed out big time just to get Roland Emmerich. They rushed Roland Emmerich for this movie just to get the movie done before it was released. It was a horrible situation what you guys did. And when Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World came out, I mean, sure, it was bad. But when that movie came out, they decided to release this movie a year later on. Jesus Christ. Oh, by the way, guys, you're gonna have to hear this. Roland Emmerich did see the 2014 Godzilla movie. He actually said he liked it. It was amazing. Better than what he directed. I was like, no shit. But, yeah. But I'm talking about the original Godzilla movie. The biggest masterpiece of all time. Roland Emmerich hating the original Godzilla. That is not the right choice. Oh, Jesus Christ. Son of a bitch. This is really awful. I can't believe that I'm saying this and it exists in public. But, yeah. I'm so sorry about my criticizings and everything, but that's basically what I'm going to say. And when this movie came out, it flopped. It was a bomb to the nations. Even though the box office was successful, the movie was hated by critics due to some kind of it's like the same story by Jurassic World and stuff like that. Jurassic Park: The Lost World. I'm sorry, the second Jurassic Park movie, not Jurassic World. Jurassic Park 2. It's the same story. But with that being said, listen, before I want to tell you all something. This is my third time watching this movie, and I try to take a little bit of notes. This is somewhat of a quick type long review. I don't know, but this is basically the review that I said this is the third time watching this movie, and after that, I'm not going to see this movie ever again. This is a movie I refuse to go back to see. But with that being said, let's begin. So the movie opens up with a yellow screen and some kind of influences which you don't really get to see the badass opening title for Godzilla's name on it. It's just on the side that just feels like, okay, yeah, la 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 la. Title is bad. And actually this movie that year that takes place with nuclear testing of iguanas came out takes place in 1968. Is that really that necessary? I thought it was going to be like 1954. But no, it did not. So basically, that's another thing that Roland Emmerich did ruined, is that this movie takes place in the 60s and not in the 50s. And that year was basically the same year Destroy All Monsters came out, which I'll get to Destroy All Monsters thing in a moment soon. That's related for this movie. So the French government, but the only difference is that it's the French destruction instead of whatever. Then 30 years later, of course, in 1998, a Japanese cavalry ship is attacked by a giant creature in the South Pacific. There's only one survivor that was like laying down on his bed until he was in the hospital, and the French guy came in with a torch and he shouted, "Godzilla, Godzilla." It's pretty interesting, actually. I found that to be funny, which he thought it was, but it's more like Jira, Jira. Yeah, I would say Jira. That's you should know what that means, Jira. Then we meet our main protagonist, Dr. Nyctatopoulos, played by Matthew Broderick, who is a biologist worker for the Nuclear Regular Commission, who studies on Earth things like worms and creatures and stuff like that, disgusting, and some type of dinosaurs, whatever, or lizards. Chernobyl sounds like Chernobog. Whatever, something to do with the exclusive zone, Ukraine, for 3 years. By the way, Nyctatopoulos' actor Matthew Broderick. I'm just gonna call him Matthew Broderick, whatever. Matthew Broderick, I want to be honest, I actually like him as an actor. I actually think he's a pretty good actor. But if you want to see a better movie with Matthew Broderick, I suggest The Lion King would work, because he was amazing as the adult Simba. From what I gathered, I think he should be like the new voice for Zilla and Zilla Jr., which I'll get to the Zilla Jr. thing in a moment, and whatever I said, he should voice him in a cartoon. But anyways, and cartoon thing will have to go soon. But anyways, let's keep on going. So, with the arrival of an official from the U.S. State Department, Nick reassigned an escort to Panama by the military in order to examine the trail of destruction left behind by an unidentified animal. I mean, that could have been weird. Then that French guy is also present, introducing himself as Philip Rochi. Yeah, Phil. I'm just gonna call him Philippi. I'm just gonna call him Pip or Philip or whatever. I'll just call him Pip, because who gives a shit? Who gives a shit about French? I don't know if I'm sorry, am I offending French people who are watching this? But I'm just gonna call this guy Pip, whatever you call it. While aboard the military aircraft, Colonel Hicks is briefed about 3 ships being pulled under the waves. Hearing some LSE Chapman emphasizing that the creature could be descendant of the theropod dinosaurs because of its size and claws marks observed earlier, which Matthew Broderick disagrees, arguing that it would be much likelier for it to be a mutated creature spawned from a nuclear test that took place in the French Polynesia. I don't know. Then we arrive to New York City. We meet this character, this girl, Nyctatopoulos' ex-girlfriend named Audrey. I don't know who the actress is. Audrey Timmons. Guys, you're gonna have to hear this, but I absolutely hate her so much. She is basically my least favorite character, female human character of the franchise. I hate her so much. She is such a slut, and I swear, those of you who really like her, you guys are just insane. All right, you're insane. She's a bitch. But anyways, during that, I don't know what the whole point with her is, but she's a bitch. I don't need to go over what the whole scene is. But meanwhile, the monster arrives in New York City, briefly just causing a little bit of damage of the city, while people are just running from this creature that's running to the world. And we meet this guy with a camera who's just looking. By the way, I really like this part whereas with this where this guy was about to be stomped by Zilla, and he somehow misses while he's shooting the scene, and the creature just runs away, or Zilla, and this guy's like, it's just so funny, to be honest. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm breaking this down and trying to fast forward a bit so like I could get this done. So yeah, Nick the Topless, awry. So following this, Nick collects a blood sample and examines in it his provisional military tent, finding out that the creature is pregnant and assumes that since it's the first of its kind, that it must be capable of asexual reproduce. By the way, I don't know what the whole point is with iguanas being asexual. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Male iguanas, male reptilian creatures, cannot be asexual. The only thing that can is obviously male seahorses. They are asexual. But male iguanas? Okay, that is just weird. Okay, sure, there are other male creatures that are asexual. Yoshi is is another example. But really? That's the stupidest thing. Also, in the show and Heisei, Godzilla was not asexual. Godzilla adopts the kid. I mentioned this. I can't believe I had to say this again. Godzilla adopts Minilla and Godzilla Jr. How many times do I have to go over this bullshit? I can't. I cannot go over that bullshit again. He adopts these eggs when they're parasited by birds. Now you understand the story? This creature here, yes, he is asexual, but Godzilla cannot be asexual like that. That was the biggest bullshit I've ever heard in my life. Which, anyways, so then Nick the Topless shares this finding with his ex-girlfriend, Audrey. Of course, they're finally reunited. And an administrative assistant, hoping to become a new reporter, following running into her after years of being separate. To confirm the finding definitively, Nick leaves. Looking around, Audrey discovers classified videotapes concerning the monster's origins, deciding this is the best opportunity at becoming a news reporter. She takes them and films a report, turning it over to the media. So there's another thing I totally forgot, but well, I don't know what to say. But let's go on to the scene that I think I skipped. The scene where Nick the Topless arrives in New York. Seeing like trying to see the blood and everything or whatever, going downhill or underground, but then the creature rises up. I totally missed that out. That the creature rises up, and he was the first to see Nick the Topless, and both of them. So they were like ready to fire. Well, first thing. What did they do to get this creature? Well, they used so much fish. That's a lot of fish. Yeah, you really think I was gonna miss that? I was, and I totally forgot about it. But anyways, they try to feed Zilla with fish, and they were ready to open their fire on him. Matthew Broderick's like, no, you shouldn't. But whisperedly, he did not say it out loud. So Zilla was fed by a lot of fish, but then they start firing, and Zilla, however, seems to dodge a bunch of shit. Is that really Godzilla-ish? That dodging missiles and running away like a pussy? I don't believe this. So Zilla runs away. He basically runs away from military helicopters that seem to come out of nowhere, causing so much city, and Zilla didn't even cause so much destruction in the city. So Zilla attacks from behind, whatever it is, and Zilla is like climbing on one of the Empire State Buildings or something, or basically showing up the Twin Towers. I mean, come on, this film was made in 1998. It has to have the Twin Towers. So yeah, that's basically how I'm gonna sum this up. Anyways, so moving on, like now we're gonna fast forward. So when they find out the creature was pregnant, well, declaring its own discovery and record over the segments while mispronouncing Gojira that the French guy has mentioned, or Jira, they call him Zilla. Yes, I know you gotta comment to me. They call him Godzilla in the movie. I know that. I know what you're talking about just because of what the movie said. But I'm just gonna mistakenly say it out loud. But they call him Zilla. His name is Zilla. So, anyways, following the reporter's airing, Nick gets kicked off the team due to his apparent carelessness after he bides farewell to Audrey and then gets kidnapped by Pip, the French guy I mentioned, an agent of the French Secret Service who informs Nick that the U.S. government isn't interested in finding the theoretical nest. Through the French AR, they want to cover up any involvement they had with Zilla's creation. Working with Nick, they began looking for the nest somewhere within the city. Surfacing again, Zilla escaped all of the military's attacks and dives into the Hudson River. You know, that's sad. Zilla dives into the Hudson River and it's not that deep. I don't believe this. Who thought that the Hudson River is so deep? It's not deep. It wasn't that deep. I can't believe this. This is the stupidest thing I've ever noticed. If the Hudson River was there, if he jumps into the Hudson River, he would have broken his neck. But Roland Emmerich had to add more underwater scenes, and basically with the Hudson River being super deep, like the ocean. I don't know why. Why would you do that? But with that being said, they used submarines to attack Zilla, and he was able to dodge that shit. Cause Zilla is a pussy, like I said, and he dodges a lot of missiles. Of course, he is smart enough to dodge missiles. Godzilla is the one that never dodges missiles. Every time they shoot Godzilla, he's like, okay, that tickles. Blah! That's basically the point. Godzilla cannot dodge missiles, and missiles don't do any certain damage compared to Zilla, which we'll get to that in a moment soon. But anyways, with Zilla out of the way, the Pip and I believe Nick was with him with the team, secretly followed by Audrey and the camera guy Victor. Yeah, that's the name that was with the camera guy, Victor, who actually saw Zilla and was like, oh! Like you remember. Went to the subway tunnels and entered the Madison Square Garden, where they found over 200 eggs before they start hatching out and turn out to be velociraptors, like the raptors from Jurassic Park. Oh man, the baby Zillas are chasing after Nick, Audrey, Victor, and Pip. So chasing after them four with the station and probably setting a bunch of charges and bombs to destroy the whole place. And after that, Zilla comes back and he's pissed because all his babies are dead. And he starts chasing after the these are four main characters in a taxi. Right then, Zilla emerges from the garden room. Apparently, which of course survived the torpedo attack in the river earlier. Seeing that, like I said, when he gets pissed after close calls, he starts running all through Manhattan, the group lures Zilla out into the open by the driving through the Brooklyn Bridge. And which I want to explain this. How could Brooklyn Bridge supports his weight? If Godzilla was like on top of the Brooklyn Bridge, he would have destroyed it, like he destroyed the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. I mean, that's obvious. Godzilla would have just crumbled that shit. But Brooklyn Bridge doing it for Zilla, and he gets trapped. He grabs the car and starts eating it. Like, you remember that commercial car thing for Godzilla 2014? That he tries to get that car, and when he starts swallowing it, he's like, and starts gagging out of it. Yeah, he would have. I mean, that's what Godzilla did. I thought that commercial was funny, actually. But this one, he just grabs it and starts chewing, but his teeth are so weak that Matthew Broderick, aka Nick the Topless, electrocutes him with some kind of wire thing or whatever. Like, ah! Like he spits it out because it hurts. After being trapped, we get to the part where every single fan despise the most. He gets killed by missiles each side 3 times. Three missiles on each side. Like, Zilla actually gets really injured. And then the other side came and it really damaged Zilla. And then he falls into the ground. Nick the Topless walks up to him, feeling so sorry for the creature. And then Zilla dies at the end. So, with that being so, yeah, Roland Emmerich is a total dumbass. That Godzilla's not supposed to be killed by missiles. So, Pip actually left the characters. So, then New York's like, fuck the monster, yay! Or blah, 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 whatever. And Nick was not happy about the situation. Oh, did I forget to mention that this Roger Reberg and this other guy, I can't remember who it was, were actually in this movie, like suggesting, like getting involved with the whole bullshit and all this stuff. So, actually, in real life, it's like, say, oh, the movie sucks, blah. So, they've been watching a bunch of Godzilla movies. Both of these guys. I don't know what one of them's name, but the other one, Roger Reberg, were in it. Yeah. But remember the garden place that we saw the baby Zillas that were raptors type? So, we see one egg being remained onto. There was one egg left behind and was originally going to be set up for the sequel, and it hatched out. So, when it hatched out, the movie ends, and it was supposed to set up a sequel, and which thankfully it never did. It only made a cartoon series. And that's the end of the movie, thank God. So, what do I think? This is terrible! Terrible! Terrible movie! Terrible Godzilla movie. As a movie in general, it sucks. As a monster movie, it's not bad. It's not bad as a monster movie, but it sucks in general, and it's a terrible Godzilla movie. It's obviously a terrible Godzilla movie. If it was Godzilla. And I kept saying Zilla a bunch of times instead of saying Godzilla because his name is Zilla. By the way, guys, do you hear this sound? That's Ishiro Honda rolling around in this fucking grave. Well, with that being said, the movie was horrible. Horrible as a Godzilla movie. Even if I was a kid and I saw it, I never liked it. I thought it was like, oh, it's shit. So, yeah, it's shit. It's sad. This movie exists, and it's sad. Okay, to be fair, if it doesn't exist, if it never was made, the Millennium would never be made at all. the Godzilla franchise will be closed forever if this movie was never made. And that's sad because we still got the Millennium, thank God. But with that being said, this movie is a total disaster. I just want to shit all over it. There was one thing I did forgot to mention, and there was a bad adaptation movie that was from Japan before this one. It was Super Mario Brothers, which you already know the story. The Super Mario Brothers, played by Bob Hopkins and John Leguizamo, or I can't say that's the name right, who played Luigi, but that movie was a bad adaptation, but it is pretty much watchable compared to this one. And then there was Dragon Ball Evolution that came after this one, and that was a really bad adaptation. Big time. So what can I say? This movie is a really bad adaptation by far. By far a terrible adaptation for the franchise. And I'm sure most of you are going to agree with this. I cannot experience myself with this because it's so terrible. I cannot deal with it. But then there's the song I forgot to mention by Puff Daddy and Jimmy Page. Terrible song. I don't want to know what... I know what... Come With Me, whatever it's called. Terrible song. The music score, it's not bad. Not a bad music. Characters. The only ones I like are Matthew Broderick, the French guy, I'm calling him Pip, and that camera guy, Victor. Those are the only characters I like. The rest are terrible. I hate the rest of the characters. I hate them so much. They are the stupidest characters I've ever seen. The worst one is Audrey. Audrey is a fucking slut. Yeah, that's how I can sum it up. And, of course, we're going to talk about the main problem with this movie. It's the monster himself, Zilla. Now, listen. Let me talk about this. Let me talk about this monster in two different ways. Between Godzilla and Zilla. Let me say my opinion separately between, like, for the name of this creature. Let's talk about this guy as Godzilla. The first thing I'm going to say is, what the fuck, Emmerich? What the fuck were you thinking? Does that even look like Godzilla to you? It looks nothing. It looks nothing like Godzilla at all. It looks like what Gorzar 10 says, a T-Rex with a xenomorph and iguana features. And like I said, Stan Winston's Godzilla would have been perfect instead of this piece of shit. I couldn't believe my eyes at all. It's so awful. The legs look so skinny and stupid. The real Godzilla are bulky, muscular, and okay, yes, it kind of makes Godzilla fat, but who the fuck cares? Godzilla needs to be big, and I never mentioned this, but this guy doesn't look big at all. He looks way too small, and his size changed a lot. It changes a lot. Like, there's sometimes he's as big as a building, but then there are a few times that, most of the times, he's smaller than the building. I cannot believe that. I mean, Ron Emmerich said he wanted to make Godzilla fast. You can't do that. You cannot make Godzilla run fast. That doesn't work well. And he hunches over. That's another problem. He hunches over, and that sucks. The face, it's retarded as Godzilla. For Godzilla, it's retarded. The spines on his back look like shark fins instead of the jagged dorsal spikes that we remember. Those spine fins, those fins on his back. I mean, I don't believe that. Look, this guy here, and his abilities, he's got nothing. He just breathes out gas from his mouth. Horrible breath. and causes the massive cars and vehicles to explode, unlike Godzilla's trademark atomic breath. So, I mean, think about it. This guy here, and not to mention running away from the military. That is so not Godzilla. Godzilla is brave. He's smart. He has courage. And he doesn't get killed by missiles, which I'll get to that in a moment soon. I mean, think about it. Every time they attack Godzilla, it's like, oh, that tickles. You can keep going. I don't give a shit. Boom! Here, Zilla's like, no, please, let me alone. That's bullshit. That is an insult. Yeah, it is. First, think about it. He is too small. He is too I forgot to say this. The tagline on for the movie, size does matter. It really does that matter? How is he smaller? That's what I want to know. But still, he is too small. He is too much of a pussy. And the biggest part, him being killed by the missiles, is the biggest bullshit I've ever seen in the franchise. Look, it is sad to watch this as Zilla, but as Godzilla, I just want to shoot that thing with a gun. It is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I'm sorry, that was my dog. I don't believe that. Oh, man, I'm sorry. I just can't. As a monster himself, Zilla is pretty cool. I like Zilla. I love his appearance in the comics, in the like Rulers of Earth, where he fought the real Godzilla. At least that battle's longer. Let's be fair for that. The cartoon with Zilla Jr. I did not see much of the cartoon. I saw some of the clips. The animation looks like shit. I know you guys are gonna hate me about this, but I'm not a fan of the cartoon because it just looks so weird, and I don't like the animation at all. But the only monster I like in that cartoon, aside from Zilla Jr., who is way better than the real Zilla here, is Cyber Zilla, and that's pretty much it. Cyber Zilla is also cool. I like him. He's cool. Which I'm confused. Is Cyber Zilla really this creature Zilla from '98, the film, coming back from the dead and be into a giant machine killer, fighting his child? I guess. I don't know, but still, Cyber Zilla is the only monster I think is cool aside from Zilla Jr. The other monsters are shit in that cartoon. They look like shit. I know you guys are pissed for me to say this, but still. And speaking of Godzilla cartoons, you guys want me to know why do I want Matthew Broderick to voice Zilla or Zilla Jr. or Cyber Zilla? Well, because I want a Godzilla cartoon where monsters actually talk. And there was a cartoon before this one, Godzilla Land. That one it's a little chibi-ish and had dumb voices. And design-wise, I forgot. Look at Hanna-Barbera Godzilla, which is way more tradition of a cartoon Godzilla. And just like, it looks too much like the Marvel Comics Godzilla. But even with that both the Marvel Comics and Hanna-Barbera Godzilla look more tradition to the original. And not Zilla. Zilla to me is just a monster of his own kind, as what Matthew Broderick said. So, yeah, that's how much I'm going to sum up with this movie. I'm going to wrap this up right now because I am very tired. My throat is killing me. I can't do this. This is basically this will be basically the last time I'm watching this movie. This will be the last time watching this movie, and I'm done. I am not watching it again. So with that being said, it's over. The movie sucks. I'm sorry about that. So, and no, I would not introduce this to those who are not Godzilla fans. I mean, there's some that may have seen it, but still, I do not want to introduce it to those. If they have never heard or seen it, do yourselves a favor and do not even dare showing it to them. Ever. Because it ruins the source material. I know, and Zilla 2006, I am so sorry about this, okay? This is my honest review, okay? Don't be offended, alright? I'm so sorry. If you are against my opinion, it's fine, but remember, I don't want to hurt yours. I really don't. So, with that being said, before I want to give my rating, was there anything that I want to... Is there anything related for this movie that hasn't been said already? What can I say about this movie that no fans in their own reviews have ever said about this movie at all? Well, there's nothing I got except one thing to TriStar. Instead of choosing Roland Emmerich to direct a Godzilla movie, maybe you should use your brains and understand the true meaning. You would have delayed that movie more and more just to find a good director like Steven Spielberg for a perfect Godzilla movie. That way, you would have made a great Godzilla movie instead of this fucking piece of shit. And of course, speaking for the name, Roland Emmerich, go to hell, you motherfucker! That is the end of this review. I am sorry about this, but my rating, here we go. I'm giving this movie a 0.5 out of 10. Yell at me at the comments whatever you want. I'm sorry. The only good thing I could say about it is the music. And that is it. The rest of this movie, the characters, the setting, the storyline, the plot point, the amount of the design for the character, this movie is not worth to the public. Not at all. Only to the G fans and probably some of the ones who somewhat like this movie. And I'm so sorry. But that is the end of this review. God, I am finally done with this nightmare. I never want to review it. But next week, I'm going to review Godzilla 2000. I'm so happy that I'm going to review Godzilla 2000 and not this. So, this is SB Goji fan signing off. I am so sorry with this negative reception. But with that being said, see you all.